All right, let's get started. Thank you everyone for joining in today. Especially it's a long weekend, Labor Day weekend, holiday weekend, and appreciate you spending time here. You had many other choices to spend this long weekend the way you wanted to, but the fact that you are here, really humbling experience for me. So I won't keep you, tied for long. So we'll probably try to finish it within our time. And things that we want to cover today and are our regular general market updates, the trades review. But two additional things that I want to talk about today is finishing our discussion around investing in cannabis industry. So last week we looked at the overall market, how the market is segmented and things like that. But we finished the session last week at a point wherein we were to now start looking at various companies. So today's session, we will look into various companies and see which one meet, how to frame investment thesis on those. Another thing I want to do is to do a deep dive into an upcoming IPO, long-awaited IPO. I would say also much anticipated IPO of a unicorn called Snowflake. So we will do a deep dive into that one. So it's gonna be a little heavy session today. Deep dive into a lot of companies, their operations, especially in the cannabis industry. Then we're gonna deep dive also into Snowflake and understand, what they are into, how's the market, and how promising the company looks like from investment perspective. Okay. All right, before we go there, any questions before I start? I hope all of you are doing okay based on what happened in last few days. Everyone still okay, still invested? I know some of the people mentioned in the Slack chat that they were able to use things that we discussed on our Wednesday bootcamp session. So good to see that. That's all we focus on. Let's learn from each other. Okay. All right, so let's get going. Our usual disclaimer: this is not an investment or financial or tax advice. We are here to learn from each other. I want to share what I figured out over the week or what I've learned. And then I expect, you share some of the things that you are doing. And we can learn from each other and become better investors. So don't take it as your advice for your own personal account, because I have no idea what your personal situation is. So just take it as a piece of education. Let's jump onto Snowflake. Go all the way up, control home. Okay, let me get a little more water. Guys, any questions, please paste it in the chat. Otherwise, I want to talk about this. We're already a little over time, apologies. Let's get through the Snowflake. It is the highly anticipated IPO, especially for folks who are in tech sector and in Bay Area. This is a company in tech sector, unicorn in tech, and in Bay Area. So let's see what these guys have to offer. So let's change this to focus. Snowflake. And again, if you have a company that is coming up in an IPO, and it is possible I might miss lot more companies. There are a lot more companies coming in IPO. So let's share it in the Slack so that we can, if we find that that's where most of our members, community folks are interested in, we will discuss it in our next, cycle. But again, it takes time for me to dig through and give you full analysis. I don't want to just brush through it and saying it's a unicorn, lot more good investors, and let's do it. I want to give a little more information so you can make your own informed decision. Okay, so probably I can do only one company analysis per week. Right now, my sentiment is company is promising, and let's dig into why I hold that sentiment. Oops. Okay. All right. Company mission is to enable every organization to be data driven. So when I look at companies, first thing I find out is what are they professing to be. What's their mission? Is their mission easy enough for us to understand? More importantly, if we can understand, make sure that employees can understand as well. Can they relate to this mission? Many companies have a few sentences in their mission. I don't like it because it means they are not focused. Nothing can be better than the Snowflake's mission because they are focused on data driven. Other things I look at is, does their mission give them what their optionality is? Yes. So gets full point from me in terms of the mission statement. Quick history. The founders were in this business of data warehouse. And when they used to meet customers, they found that all the customers were so frustrated because they wanted to cut their cost by moving on to public cloud. And again, okay, before I dig deeper, I want to do a quick disclaimer here. This is a technical company building a highly technical product. So I might be blurting out some of the technical terms without even realizing it, that not everyone may be able to understand those. So I will try to explain some of those technical terms as we go along. But if there is anything that you are not clear about, please ask it in the chat. And this is, again, my own ignorance, because I'm in tech industry. Some of the terms that are very familiar, I would be blindsided to the fact that not everyone would understand those, have the similar familiarity with those terms. So my apologies to everyone who is not from a technology sector, that I might spit out some things which you might be wondering, hello, what is this, right? So correct me when I'm doing that mistake, okay? Because most likely I will do that, because I just realized I didn't say what a data warehouse is. And I told that the founders have been working in data warehouse industry. So data warehouse, let me just explain what this whole business is, right? So all of us have been generating a lot more of data. Now, in legacy world, the companies like Oracle, Microsoft, and I think these are the only two remaining. There were a lot more other companies in data warehouse business. But the big ones in the database business, when you generate a lot of data, and things like 20 years ago, all those data was related to how my company is doing as a business, right? My sales data. Which region, what sales happened, all the way to the salesperson who did that sale on a particular day. My production related data, right? How much the goods were produced, which batches were they produced, what were the raw material, each raw material, when those were produced, how much were those sold for, your HR related data, number of employees, each employee specific data, all those data which used to be in 1800s, early 20th century in pen and paper, started moving on to softwares. Okay, those started moving into softwares, and then there's a lot of database companies started showing up. Oracles, DBase, Sybase. Some of those companies are now gone extinct or they've been bought over. Microsoft. Now, as we moved along, as the technological advancements came along, the type of the data and the frequency at which that data is generated started to become more and more complex, and more amount of data. So today, we have those employees data. In a company, we have employees data, production data, finance data, sales data, but now a lot more data is generating by employees chatting to each other over Slack. That's also a lot of data. There's a lot of wealth and information in that data. There's a lot of data being generated by people because they are on Facebook, Twitter data. So lot more different types of data is being generated. And all this is unstructured data, right? When I say unstructured, when you're putting your Facebook post, nobody, Mr. Zuckerberg is not telling you have to put, have to add your comments in this way. You have to put in a table form. No, you can put it whichever way you want to. You can add images, you can add videos, you can add your text comments. So there is no defined structure. So that is what in the data terms called it's unstructured data. So the type of data that is being generated has also changed. Just from being a very structured, that employee name, employee first name, last name, date of birth, or store name, store location, store revenue, to completely unstructured. Now, to start managing these data, we need new technologies. That is where a lot of these companies are coming into this space. Snowflake is one of them. Now, to get any good insights from this data, some of the companies like Oracle started building a product called data warehouse. Means you bring all the data in a warehouse. Now I'm going to create a shelves saying this is a sales data, this is employees data, and make sure only sales people have access to sales data. HR people have access to employee data. An individual employee has access to only his or her data, not everyone else. So they started creating these separate boxes or shelves in which only the required need to know basis people, or the people who should have access, only they have access to those data. But it created another problem, and we'll talk about it just now. But this is where the data warehouse was. There we will warehouse means bring in all data. You give us all your data. We'll warehouse that whole data, and then we can give you some reports based on that. And these founders were working in that. But now what happens in those cases, earlier you have to have an Oracle database. You need to buy Oracle database license. You need to install it and manage it, maintain it, or pay hefty fee through your nose to Oracle to maintain it. In last 10 years, the technology has moving to, I don't want to install this. I want to use AWS, which is Amazon service provider, right? Amazon Web Services. I don't want to do nothing with me managing some of the infrastructure. I want to use Google infrastructure or Microsoft infrastructure, which is what all this cloud. Netflix, they don't manage this whole the infrastructure themselves. They are using AWS. So is Airbnb. So is a lot of other big companies. So there's a lot of shift happening from I want to manage all my hardware, software, keep it in my location, to I want to outsource the management to the people who are best, to Google engineers, to Microsoft engineers, to Amazon engineers. Because I'm not in a hardware management business. If I'm a Starbucks, I'm in a coffee brewing business. All I want is I want to know where my coffee beans are, who is buying where, which brands are selling, which are not selling. And if you can give me that information and take the headache of managing all the data from me, yeah, I would like to work with you. So there's two shifts happening in parallel. Moving all your IT infrastructure over to cloud providers, and a lot of explosion in the data. Now, Snowflake, when their founders were talking to their customers, they found that customers were frustrated with the both of these. So they started company Snowflake in 2012, saying, let's make it easy for making sure you can migrate or have all the data in cloud, and you can derive all the insights or all the decision-making capability from your data without have to worry about a lot of technical stuff. As a Starbucks, I don't have the folks from MIT. I don't hire folks from MIT. I hire folks, the best sales folks. I hire the best baristas. I don't have to think about hiring the best technical people. So that's where the Snowflake is at the intersection of data explosion and the trend towards moving to cloud. Okay, I hope that helps. Do let me know anything if it's, if something is unclear. What happened to mouse? Oh, come on, it's too slow. Okay, so let's look at quickly why this has become so important. What are the tailwinds? We talked about data is becoming paramount to business success. Data is the new oil, right? A saying goes, if in 1960s, 70s, oil companies were the richest, ExxonMobil was the most valuable company on exchanges for quite many decades, right? Quite many years. No longer, because they were in oil business. Now data has become a new oil. You cannot run your business successfully if you don't get to know what's happening with your employees, with your customer, in the market. And you can only know that if you can get some meaningful insights from the data. Having a data is not an issue, but how to derive that meaningful information which will allow me to take decisions, that's more important. Next one, explosion is data. The amount of data that is being generated is exploding. And this should not be any surprise. Each one of us is a culprit here. We all carry cell phones in our pockets. We generate tons of data through our cell phones, even if we don't want to. Even if I've not typed any single letter on my cell phone for a day, I'm still generating data because I am sending my location to Facebook. Facebook knows where I have been. And that's the data which is important for Facebook or their advertisers. So unknowingly and knowingly, we have been generating tons and tons of data. The amount of data that is being coming in the world is exploding. I won't read into these details. You can look into the S1 of Snowflake. I'll post that link here and you have the details. I'll quickly want to summarize it. Next one I talked about the cloud. The other wave is lot more people are moving towards cloud because I don't want to hire. I'm a Starbucks. I don't want to hire the best, pay money to hire the best technical people to manage my hardware and software. I want to focus on my business. So companies, the mandate for CIOs, chief information officers, are cut your internal IT folks cost and use Amazon's cloud provided services or Azure's. Now, over the last decade, these services have matured enough that companies, security people no longer have that concerns that they used to have. What if I move out the data from my office to Amazon? What if Amazon goes down? What if Amazon goes bankrupt? Now, there are big established players that now nobody thinks twice before thinking, I'm putting all my data in cloud. It's like these cloud providers have become the new utility providers of today's age. Every company, they don't have power plants anymore. We rely on the power plants from, let's say, Edison, PG&E. So now these cloud companies have become the utility companies, and everyone is okay with it. Lastly, everyone is becoming a data consumer. I am seeing some background noise. So everyone is become a consumer. Like I said, we are data generator as well as we are data consumers. We consume a lot more data. Netflix, Amazon Prime, Facebook. Look at your 20 or 40 apps you have on your phones. They all are consuming, through those, we are all consuming data. And this is the biggest trend which I've seen in last 5 years, is the consumption is moving from a capacity to utility. It wasn't true until 5 years. So what I mean by this is, say, rewind back to 5 years earlier. If I were to set up even at a cloud, if I go to Amazon and Google, I talk them as a Netflix that I want to basically set up the streaming services, Amazon's Netflix will say, okay, you can rent out space, server space and network space from us, and we'll charge you so much. Oh, you want 20 petabytes of data to be streamed per month? Okay, this is the cost. You want servers with this CPU, so much of a storage, this is the cost. So all that was based on what capacity you're buying for. What happens if I don't use that capacity? It's like I'm going to a IIP, the real estate company we talked about, that I want to buy, rent a warehouse. They'll say, how big warehouse you want? I'll tell them this in this square feet. But if I don't use that, it's a waste of my money. But in last 5 years, the technology consumption is moving from just a capacity to utility. Imagine real estate companies start charging the warehouse based on, this month I only used 2,000 square feet from the overall available capacity. I only utilize that. Please charge me only for that amount. Next month I've utilized 3,500. You charge me for that. Next month I'm going to utilize only I have utilized only 1,000 square feet. You only charge me for that. So it becomes like a utility, like we pay our electric bills, energy bills, in water bills, right? It's not a fixed cost. It's only based on what I'm consuming. Last 5 years, this trend has moved from capacity to utility. And I'll explain how this relates to Snowflake solution. This is the exciting trend. In fact, I've seen some other companies also moving from this model of charging customers based on, oh, you want these servers, you want so much space, this is your per year or per month cost. 2, we don't care how much you want. You tell us what's your usage will be, we will charge you based on usage. Okay. So when we are faced with these problems, the existing solutions were all limited. Things like Oracle database or other databases, software, they were not built for the lot of unstructured data that we talked about. You can throw in any type of data nowadays. When I'm sharing with you in Slack, I share PDF. I could share a video. I could share text. I could share comments. I share URLs. We share tweets in Twitter. Now, the traditional systems were not built for that. The amount or the volume of data is exploding. They were not built for that. Price performance, again, gonna be a little more technical. I'll skip that. Expensive to manage and maintain. When I talk to people in tech sector, they will say, we hate companies like Oracle because we have to pay through our nose to get a support from them. For years, Oracle minted money because they were the biggest name in this industry, and people didn't have choices. These are hugely expensive to manage. And now if I, as a Starbucks, have to maintain this, very expensive for me. And of course, once the cloud started coming up, then if I go to Amazon, I'm stuck with Amazon. There was no way for me to figure out, what if Amazon increase their cost tomorrow? Can I move over to Azure? The solutions did not have an ability to support a multi-cloud cross-region strategy. When I say multi-cloud, means I don't want to be, I think this is much better. I don't want to be tied up with just Amazon. I want to move over to Microsoft or to Google Cloud, or now maybe Oracle Cloud. So all those were these limitations. So that's where now Snowflake comes into. We looked at the lot of business tailwinds, a lot of data growing, existing solutions are not that good. So now Snowflake comes in, wherein what they have created is what called cloud data platform. Okay. So let's look at their solution. So our cloud data platform is built on cloud native architecture. Means when they started building their technology, they started in a world in which the cloud was already a thing. Right? If, for example, if you're now building, imagine us building a website in 2000 and building a website today. If 2000 we were building a website, we would not have even thought about how does this look like on a mobile phone. It wasn't a thing. So now, if I were to change that website, I have to rejig that website. I have to make so many changes to that website. And in some cases, I may not be even able to make those changes without sacrificing some of the functionalities. Because when I built my initial website, I did not think about mobile. Today, if I'm building a website, I will build as natively that it will work with mobile right from the day one. Same is the case with the cloud. When Snowflake started building their solution, that's what they mean by it is cloud native. We started building from day one with cloud in mind, and it works from day one with any of these clouds. They were able to handle diverse data types that we talked about, right? Both structured means employee name, first name, last name, sales data, and unstructured or semi-structured means throw in anything. Want to throw in PDF, fine. Comments, fine, anything. Massive scalability. The amount of data that we are generating now is unprecedented. And it will grow a lot more as we move along. Now, this is important, multiple use cases and users simultaneously. We talked about the data warehouse where you have a marketing data, and the technical term for that was data mart, means a small shop within a big warehouse. So these were all silos or the marts of data, right? Marketing data mart, HR data mart, finance data mart, all these different data marts. If the users were to access these data, not everyone was able to access it simultaneously. So the business leaders were not even able to get an insight into, across the business. What if something is changing in a department, how it can impact the other department? I'm kind of simplifying it too much, just to make sure that everyone is able to understand this. So, but now, if we have to derive the real insight, we need to build up give a system in which not only you, not only me, a lot more people are able to access the same data, and all of us together, so that all of us have the right information, the most up-to-date information together, which traditional systems did not support. Okay. Coming to next one is Snowflake solution is ease of use. Anyone who have dirtied their hands in database would know installing, upgrading, maintaining databases is not easy. Just for updating your databases, many times we have to bring down our websites because it will take us 2 hours, 3 hours to make sure upgrades happen properly. When I say upgrades means, let's say there's a security patch or a new functionality that needs to be added. So it's not easy to maintain and update everything. Snowflake says you don't have to worry about the issues. Delivered as a service, I think this is right in the heart of software as a service. This is kind of a data platform as a service. I don't have to worry about overhead of buying a big fat piece of hardware or buying multiple licenses of different softwares. Snowflake has done all that. I just consume the service that I want to, and I just pay for it. Next one, they are multi-cloud. If you go to Snowflake, and that's what to say, if you come to us, you are not logged into Amazon Azure, Amazon AWS, or Microsoft, or Google, or Oracle. You want Alibaba? Maybe we can give you Alibaba. Right now they are not. Right now they are only on 3 public clouds. They are only on Amazon, Google, and Microsoft, because those are the 3 biggest public cloud in the world. But we are seeing that Oracle is creating another public cloud. Alibaba is already big in Asia. Kingsoft is big in China, and a lot more public clouds are coming into picture. It's the same thing, lot more. There are tons of utilities companies around the world. In 20 years, this will become a utility. So if you go to Snowflake, you're not tied into a particular utility and how that performs. You can switch your systems to, change a button, move all your software to, now I'm getting electricity from Google instead of getting from Amazon. And of course, because you're putting all this data, it needs to be secure, seamless. That's what they do. All right, so let's jump into, I want to talk about one more thing, key benefits. I think we already discussed everything is multi-cloud, data into, everyone has access to same data so they can make real-time decisions. One thing which I want to talk about, which does differentiate it from other similar vendors, is network effects. I did not see, there are other companies like Kubo, Cloudera, have similar sort of a products, but they don't have something which what Snowflake has is network effect. So not only, I can move all my data over to cloud, manage it seamlessly. I don't have to worry about upgrading hardware or software or worry about licensing being expired. Snowflake will take care of all of that. But not only that, but if I have a business partner, let's say I'm a Starbucks, I purchase coffee beans from a coffee producer in Brazil, and they use Snowflake as well. Now we can seamlessly share data with each other on the same Snowflake cloud platform. I think this is really a differentiator they had now. This is a small but growing business for Snowflake. This is not where they get majority of their revenue. And again, one example that they gave was a star schema incorporation, which provides the data regarding COVID-19, and it provides data to a lot of companies. What Snowflake did was to get that data into their data marketplace. Now imagine Snowflake is not selling just the hardware, software services. They're selling data as a service. Now that data was accessible to hundreds of Snowflake customers directly. Each of the Snowflake customer, if they wanted to get a COVID-related data to figure out what's the COVID infection rate, say in China, because Starbucks has stores in China. How is it changing in various regions of US so that they can decide on when to open Starbucks stores? They don't have to go to Star Schema and get into a contract with them. Those hundreds of companies don't have to individually go. They all are customers of Snowflake. They get access to, they can just buy directly from Snowflake. Now this is, I would say, of all the things, is one area where it makes me a little more exciting about Snowflake when I compare it with other similar technology company who have similar technologies of multi-cloud strategy. Not everyone has it, first of all, but companies are building it. But I've not seen anyone building this data marketplace or data as a service. So it's going to be really exciting. Similarly, I think they have some weather source, so they can share all the data with all the companies. And imagine many of the times when you talk about this aggregating all the data and sharing it, before as a data provider, I have to share it. There's a lot more work that needs to be done in cleaning up the data and make sure it's in a form in which it can be shared with everyone else. Snowflake gonna take care of all of that. As an individual company, I don't have to worry about it. So very exciting. So what is their cloud data platform? Sorry, any questions till now on Snowflake? I'm brushing a little faster. So you bring all your data into Snowflake, then every tools that you need to do with the data is available to you on Snowflake. You don't have to build anything on top of it. You just get the data on Snowflake Cloud. We have a tools which allow you to do what they call as data engineering, means you want to change data, stuff like that. This is data lake, is you dump all your data, PDF files, comments, videos, everything Snowflake provided. Warehouse is just one portion of the traditional data warehouse. You can create a warehouses in which you can create your structured data and share it with all the users. Now, lot more focus is getting into AI. So you have to run your artificial intelligence model, and the area that focuses on that is data science. They need tons of data, but then you also need to have all the data science tools available to build your models and derive insights from the amount of data. Snowflake provides those tools. You don't have to bring or create those own tools. Applications that can make use of that data insights, they provide it. And last one is the data exchange, which is their data marketplace. You want to share this data with someone else? You created an application, and you think this could help a lot of other companies and help you generate money out of the data, use data exchange. Okay. So this is what Snowflake overall solution at a high level from business perspective is. Okay. Next is technology. I'll skip that. This is getting into weeds, but let's look at we as an investor from how the company has been doing. So overall addressable market is $81 billion for just storing the data, and then $50 billion for doing everything on the top of it. Right? Like I said, data is growing and it will continue to grow at 27% growth rate until 2030. Sales, Snowflake will do $600 million in revenue this year, and they've got a lot more room to grow. Revenue growth, 121% Q2 year on year. Net retention rate, 158%. For many other SaaS companies that I look at, who have announced the results recently, generally I see the figures around 110 and 130% net retention rate. So I like 158%. Big number of customers, more than 3,000 customers, and 1 million plus customers means customers who have agreed to spend $1 million. This is little old. In S1, it is 65. So this is from their last quarter presentation. So S1 was filed recently. So there were 65 customers who have committed to spend $1 million with them in next year, right? Strong sales momentum. This shows up in their increase in their quarterly revenues. Like I said, 121% year on year Q2 growth. So their solution is working. A quick customer breakup, I definitely want to look at this because this bit investors of Arista Network, when Facebook decided that they don't want to close the sale, Arista Network fell down because Facebook was one big fat portion of their revenue. That's called a customer concentration risk. If you look into the company financials or their reports, they have to report what's the customer concentration. Snowflake Capital One accounted for 11% of the overall revenue of a fiscal year January 31. That already ended. This year, it's less than that. So I would be concerned if a company has one major customer that account for 10% or more, because what if that customer switched to a competitor? Snowflake does not have that big problem. Capital One is no longer more than 10%. Okay. Let's have a quick look at the management. The CEO, Frank Stallman, he's the ex-CEO of ServiceNow. It's another company. We reviewed it, I think 3 or 4 weeks ago. Did a deep dive into it, and we liked it. So he's coming from ServiceNow. Prior to that, he was a partner in Greylock, and he was a president in EMC storage business. So he's been in this storage and data management business for years. He was a CEO of Data Domain, which was acquired by EMC. So a professional CEO, it means Snowflake is looking to become, and now is at a trajectory where they have to bring in some professional to grow the company. The co-founders were tech people, and tech people may not always turn out to be the best business people. Google got Eric Schmidt when they had to, go IPO, because those two, Sergey and Brin, those were like a tech vagabonds. So to rein them in, they got Eric Schmidt. So Snowflake has got Frank Stallman. He has grown the company, like he grew ServiceNow from 100 million to $1 billion revenue company. He's got a strong track record. But those co-founders are still involved. One of the co-founder is a CTO, Chief Technology Officer. Other co-founder is the President of Product. So those are still involved. I like it. It means they will carry on the initial mission and the vision that they had. But they have to bring in the right people to grow it as a business. That's why they got Frank Stallman. So management, no concerns on management, get full points. Other big thing is the compensation of management. If I look at it, they are being compensated for, if you look at their cash salary, not big. CEO getting a base salary of less than 300,000 and maybe an incentive of another 300,000 is like 600K. Not a big, too less from just a CEO perspective, but look at their options. He's got a $58 million worth of options. Means the interest of the management is aligned with the interest of shareholders. I like it. Unlike some of the other companies, and I don't even want to review that, but I quickly looked at the financials of Planter. That's another company filed for S1. I didn't like it at all. Just from the compensation of management, their CEO is getting like $2 million. I'm like, why don't you get more shares than getting a cash reward? Okay, risks. And again, these are some of the risks. Is what if Google, Amazon, Microsoft itself want to become and provide a data platform within their own cloud? Could they? Yes, but would they? Probably not, because they want to, right now they're focused on building an infrastructure, cloud infra, that would serve the needs of lot of other variety of businesses. If you only focus, then they have to only focus on this data as a cloud. Amazon do have services like these. It's not easy to build all this, the data cloud. Amazon has services like Redshift. They have services called EMR, which again allow you to do these things. But if I'm a Starbucks, I need to buy these services from Amazon, try to stitch all of them together. They won't talk to each other. seamlessly always. So I need to hire engineers who understand those technologies really well. So Amazon has put all those things in their marketplace, a lot of those services. But then I need to find people who knows them, stitch it together so that I can work out. In fact, a lot of these technologies are open source. You may not have to pay any license fee, but those are so complex technologies that stitching it together itself is a big pain on the backside of CIOs. And they're like, what? I will go to any other vendor who stitches together and just give me access to the data rather than me trying to stitch all the services together. Okay. Like I said, other competitions are other companies like Cloudera. I think Salesforce recently, not recently, but in 2019, I guess they bought Tableau, in which they could offer one portion, which is data warehousing, to their customers. So there are competitions, but in pure play, there are competitions like Snowflake is there, Cloudera is there, then other companies like Databricks, again, Qball, not exactly same, but kind of a similar. Company strength, what could protect themselves is the first thing I talked about was network effect. I didn't see anyone else having that ability just yet. The other competitors I talked about, none of them have kind of a data as a service or data marketplace. The other one is supporting multiple clouds. So if your competitor is saying we are great on Amazon, but they're not good on Google, Snowflake can protect you from that. So that's again one more that if you don't want to have a cloud vendor lock-in, Snowflake has got cloud which works seamlessly across all the other vendors. Okay. All right, quick financial. I won't take you through this eye test, but quick, let me summarize this for you. Where's my summary? Okay. Quick revenue, it grew 150% from Jan 2019 to Jan 2020. 6 months ending July 31st, 2020, growth of 132%. So they are growing big. Losses are also growing, but the losses are growing at a lower pace. The reason losses will grow is they have to acquire customer. Once they acquire a customer, most of the SaaS, all SaaS companies have a huge upfront cost of acquiring customer because this is a land grab war. You need to go and expand as soon as you can, then you can start selling additional services. And when you have a products which are as technical as like Snowflake, you need to have a sales force which is technical, sales people which are technical, and then they don't come cheap. So your sales and marketing expenses are generally higher in technology companies, especially in SaaS, if you compare it against some of the other traditional industries. So initial losses are higher, but they are not, revenue growth is higher than the growth in expenses, which means margins are improving at a faster rate. That's all we want to see. I'm not looking at Snowflakes to be profitable right now. Probably may not be near future, but that's how tech companies are. Pricing model we talked about. This is the new trend in the last 5 years, that you pay as you use model, not pay as what you thought you would use, right? You rent the whole warehouse, you don't use even 25% of it. That's not a case. We don't get into a contract of renting a warehouse. I'll only charge you based on the number of, let's say, pallets you used. So if you are using only 10 pallets to store your stuff, I'm only going to charge you for 10 pallets. So this is pay as you use fee model. I see comments, API. Not sure that's what you're referring to. Are you referring to the application programmable interface or something else? I mean, that's a tech term. So just let me know. Like I said, net revenue retention rate, it is much better than some of the other SaaS companies, which is and as compared to their own previous record, it's not that good. They had 200% above NRR, net revenue retention rate, but 158 is nothing to be sneezed at. Okay. We talked about expenses. So net, I think, okay, so we talked about this, we talked about, yeah, business risk is, market is competitive. They are dependent on cloud service providers. What if Amazon goes bankrupt? What if Google goes bankrupt? Microsoft goes bankrupt? Or they get hacked? It is a risk because Snowflake is dependent on them. But if companies like Google get hacked, I think I have a much bigger problem as a consumer or as a corporation than other things. There are a lot more other things to worry about. But the fact is that Snowflake is exposed because it runs on their systems. It is exposed to any weakness that these cloud providers have in them. We recently saw, I don't know if you realize or not, many apps on the phones one day had stopped working. Users were not able to log into their apps because the Facebook service wherein the users sign up using their Facebook ID, the login on many of the apps, nowadays they allow you to log in with your Facebook ID or Google ID. The Facebook login service had a problem for a few hours, and that impacted a lot of other apps who were using it. So we are talking about that kind of a risk over here. Okay. Last is the changes in privacy data storage laws throughout the world, because you're putting your data in Snowflake cloud. So if you are using a cloud in Europe region, they had a GDPR, global data protection rights. California has recently changed laws for data protection. So I think this business overall has to deal with all the changing laws in the data protection. Lastly, why should we be? What is that investor profile? So if you look at CEO has got a good chunk, which is fine. I like it. Starter Hill Ventures, again, a very respected VC firm in Bay Area. Sequoia, the initial investors in all the big names that we know about, like Google, etc. These are two big names that came across. Iconic, I haven't heard much about it. I mean, now if I look into Iconic's holdings, they have some decent companies, but the Sequoia and Sutter Hill Venture are behind this company. I think I want to be behind this company. So I think that finishes our review of this. So net, I think a very promising company in an area which is exploding like anything. So this is on my radar for my investment. Now, the biggest question is, should we invest when they go IPO? Today, we don't even know how many shares they plan to sell, what's their price point. So we can't make any decision based on that. But the fact is, this is a highly anticipated IPO. This will be a crowded space. So by the time we get in, maybe it's run up too high too soon. So you may want to start small. Don't put 100% of the capital that you allocate for Snowflake on day one when it has gone up 20%, 25%. I don't even know whether it would be. But that doesn't mean it cannot go on another 50% later, right? But my idea is to share in terms of what this business is, what they are as a company, their management. 5 years down the line, will it be more valuable than what they are today? I think their latest valuation round, the funding round, they were valued at $12 billion when they had the latest funding round. Now, maybe they're coming to market at, let's say, 15, 20. Will 5 years down the line, will they be $30 billion, 50% more than what they come on IPO? Yes. And I would invest keeping that horizon in mind, not that I want to just take a profit from the quick pop during IPO. Okay. All right, so that brings us to the end of Snowflake. Hopefully, I probably did some justice to it. I try to tone it down, a lot more technical content in this, so that everyone is able to understand. All right, that brings us also to the end of our time. Any questions, etc.? Otherwise, you feel free. If you want to drop off, feel free. I will hang around for maybe 5-10 minutes to answer any of the remaining questions, if you have any. If there are no questions, that's fine too. You're welcome, Ajit. Cool. Okay, looks like no questions. So quick update, we will meet again. Okay. How much would you say is reasonable price for Snow at pre-IPO levels? I have no idea. And again, I have not done any valuation analysis, the typical, DCF models, etc. But if I were to say is that if they got valued at $12 billion, and I don't know who all participated in that last funding round, Sachin, but if the last funding round was done by some of these big names that we talked about, maybe Sutter or Sequoia, and I know those are the VCs, they don't throw money around just to get into the deal, right? There are companies who would want them. So if they are okay with $12 billion, I would be okay with $12 billion. Okay. Against, compare it against some of the companies wherein you see a small hedge fund taking an investment at a small investment, but at a much higher valuation. In that case, I don't give that much credence to the valuation because, hey, I'm a small hedge fund. I'm willing to pay through my nose to give you money at much higher valuation because I want to see it and to be known, as an investor in this community. But if the last round was done by Sequoia and Sutter, then I think $12 billion is a fair valuation. You too, welcome Asif, welcome Mahi, you have a nice weekend too. So that's the only way I can look at what's reasonable, because otherwise in the tech sector, if I would have focused on valuation, nowhere throughout his 20 years of public life, Amazon stock was at a fair valuation. But the stock has done stupendously well. So this is one area wherein looking at valuation probably may not be the right thing to do. Because then someone who had looked at valuation of Amazon would have never bought Amazon in last 20 years. They were never at a fair valuation. Yes, this was the quote in the Snowflake S1 also. So right now they're at 600 million, but that's what they mentioned in the S1, that the total for data analytics and data storage is the numbers that they provided. So market is big. And again, I mean, they have a competitors like things like Databricks, Qbol are not in public market yet. Cloudera is in public market, but they don't have a product just yet. They had a legacy product, which they are now converting into it. Cloudera just announced the results. So they recently revealed their product, but still a lot more stuff to catch up for them. So we'll talk again with some of you on Wednesday in Option Bootcamp. Now we're going to talk about a little deeper I think it will be Delta. Because I talk so much about Delta, it tells you many things about, if you know Delta, you will know your portfolio a lot better inside out. So now we talked about basics of option trade, creating trades, managing trades, closing trades. Now let's dig deeper and say how to know what's the risk on your portfolio, or a lot of things which only one option Greek will tell you, which is delta. So that's what I want to focus on, delta. I'll not get into the details of a lot of other option Greeks. I don't want to overwhelm. As you move along in option trading journey, you'll find out, you'll learn more. But one thing which is delta, I feel is important that everyone should know if they want to be in option trading. And that's what I'll cover in our Wednesday bootcamp. So be on a lookout. I will add that event in Meetup. So that's going to be interesting. All right. I'll see you on Wednesday, some of you. And rest of you, I'll be back here on next Saturday.
Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, please write it in comments or email it to optiongig@gmail.com. If you liked what you learned, please help us spread the word so others can also benefit from it.